It was 1993 when I was in high school. My sister was in College of Education, I think her second year or something. When I was a very curious kid, so when she received her textbooks from college, I was very curious to explore them and browse them, and I stumbled upon a book that captured my interest. It was Introduction to Psychology by Linda Davidoff, I believe. And I was very interested in psychology back then. Back then we had psychology and parapsychology, conscious and unconscious, to talk about. It was not the age of AI or the age of UFOs or anything of that sort. So the work of a specific psychologist intrigued me a lot, and his name was Ivan Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov was known for what's called the classical conditioning. He experimented on animals, specifically to test conditioning on them per se, to triggers and responses. What elicit a response in an animal. And specifically there was an incident, actually a natural disaster of some sort that led to an unintentional discovery. And that was the Leningrad River flooding. He was away from his lab when the flooding happened. His lab was flooded. Water level rose slowly and gradually. And the dogs were restrained or in cages, so they did not have any way to flee or to save themselves. So they panicked, and they were scared so much so by that, that after they were rescued, those of the dogs that were rescued, something very intriguing happened, is that they experienced a change of personality, a change of attitude. The wild ones became tamed, the tamed ones became wild, the trained ones lost their training. It took them some time to flip back to and remember themselves. So this technique later on paved the way to what is called now brainwashing. During the Korean War, American war captives were brainwashed to become communist, and it was very effective, so much so that they embraced the ideology. When they were returned back to the United States, it took them some time. Some of them flipped back really quick, and others took time before they were able to let go of their belief in communism and embrace capitalism. So from there, flooding became a concept that is used by certain agencies or certain organizations, media controlling organizations or others, to influence people and change their personalities, change the behavior of the crowd. Over the last 2 years, many of us changed. We were flooded, essentially, with imagery of unholy crimes being committed in the Holy Land, and videos broadcasted to us by the victims themselves. And we were exposed to scenery that we were not supposed to see. So much so that we changed. We became different people because of them, because of their suffering. We haven't seen that many children being killed or tortured or shredded into pieces. We were not prepared for it. We were not prepared for so much death to be broadcasted on our phones. We became different people because of it. We cried with them, and we cried for them. And we could not bear their suffering and what they had to deal with. But what hurt us the most is that feeling of helplessness. We felt very helpless. The people of the democracy of democracies, the freest nation on earth, were not free. We were not able to do anything about it. We were not heard. So when United States aid trucks started arriving after 2 years of famine, essentially, in Palestine, in Gaza, of a population that was stuck in a 7 kilometers, about 7 miles by 25 miles area. That is essentially the Gaza Strip. Millions of people there were starved, were killed, were bombed. The equivalent of 3 atomic bombs were dropped on that little area. So when aid trucks started arriving after so much suffering and so much atrocity, so much stress and so much flooding, and the American contractor installed what appeared to be lines, as if they are going to the DMV or something like that, to organize, aid distribution. They were not happy that the Gazans were not sticking to the lines. They were surprised by their behavior and how these hungry and starving families, children and elderly who walked miles from where they are to where the aid is, just to go back home with some aid for their families. The contractors were unexpecting this behavior where people had to jump the trucks and grab whatever they can and return home with something to sustain their families. Some returns with a box of few food items that will sustain them maybe for a week or two or even less, and others returned with a bullet in their chest. Many died in that trip out of exhaustion or because they were targeted. Now, I want to say to those contractors who were unhappy and unthrilled by this behavior, that, starving population was not able to stick to the lines. No, sir, no, ma'am. It is you who should stand in line for these people who had to see and withstand what no human should have seen or forced to withstand. It is these people who deserve your respect. It is you who should stand in line for them.